My neighbor demanded I remove my security cameras, claiming they violate my privacy. When I refused, he filed a complaint. Days later, his house was robbed, and he begged me for the footage. I smirked, sorry, I wouldn't want to violate your privacy. His jaw dropped as the police asked, no footage? Then who's your alibi? I live in a quiet neighborhood in San Diego, California. It's a peaceful area where everyone values their privacy and keeps to themselves. After a series of package thefts and a car break-in, I decided to install security cameras around my property to enhance safety. I carefully positioned the cameras to cover my driveway, front door, and backyard, ensuring they only captured my property. I was mindful of my neighbors' privacy and made sure the cameras didn't intrude on their spaces. A few days later, while tending to my garden, my neighbor, Mr. Davis, approached me. He was an older man, known for his well-kept lawn and attention to neighborhood happenings. Good afternoon, I greeted him. Afternoon, he replied, his tone serious. I noticed you've installed some cameras. Yes, I nodded. After the recent incidents, I thought it was a good idea for security. He frowned. One of those cameras seems to be pointing toward my property. I'm concerned about my privacy. I was surprised. I understand your concern, Mr. Davis, but I assure you, the cameras are angled to monitor only my property. I have no intention of invading anyone's privacy. Still, he insisted, I'd feel more comfortable if you removed or repositioned them. I've taken care to ensure they only monitor my premises, I said calmly. I don't believe there's an issue. His expression hardened. If you don't take them down, I'll have to file a complaint. I sighed, realizing we were at an impasse. I'm sorry you feel that way, Mr. Davis. I won't be removing the cameras. True to his word, Mr. Davis filed a complaint with the local authorities. An officer visited my home to discuss the matter. After reviewing the camera placements and angles, he concluded that I was within my rights. The cameras did not intrude upon Mr. Davis's property or violate any privacy laws. A week later, late at night, I was awakened by the sound of sirens and flashing lights. Looking out, I saw police cars in front of Mr. Davis's house. Concerned, I put on a jacket and stepped outside. Mr. Davis was on his porch, speaking with the officers. He noticed me and approached. My house was robbed, he exclaimed, visibly shaken. They took everything valuable. Do you have any footage from your cameras? I felt a mix of sympathy and irony. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, I said evenly. I wouldn't want to violate your privacy. His face fell as he realized the situation. The officers, overhearing our exchange, turned to him. No footage? One asked. Then who can vouch for your whereabouts during the time of the robbery? Mr. Davis's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The weight of his earlier actions was evident. In the days that followed, the neighborhood buzzed with talk of the incident. Some sympathized with Mr. Davis, while others saw it as a lesson in the importance of community cooperation and understanding. For my part, I continued to monitor my property, ensuring the safety of my home while respecting the boundaries of those around me. The balance between security and privacy remained a topic of reflection, highlighting the complexities of neighborly relations. About a week after the break-in, things got weird. Mr. Davis stopped talking to me completely, which was fine. What wasn't fine was the way he started glaring every time I left the house. If I stepped onto my porch, there he was, watering his lawn or pretending to check his mailbox, eyes locked on me like I'd personally robbed him. I ignored it. I figured he was embarrassed. Anyone would be. He made a big deal about the cameras, only to end up needing them. But then strange things started happening. One morning, I found deep scratches on my car. Long, deliberate ones. Not random, not from a shopping cart. These were angry lines down the side of the door. I checked the footage, nothing. That camera was facing the garage, not the street. Rookie mistake. I adjusted the angle that same day. 2 days later, one of my trash cans was missing. Just gone. I walked around the neighborhood and found it 3 blocks down, tipped over near a storm drain. Inside? A bunch of raw chicken parts. No bags. Just meat and bones. I don't even eat meat. I'm vegetarian. Still, I didn't report it. I didn't want to make this into a war. Maybe it was kids. Maybe it was just coincidence. I kept telling myself that. Then came the flyers. Bright yellow, stapled to light poles, bus stops, and even one stuck to the windshield of my car. Warning, cameras spying on you, know your rights. It had a grainy, zoomed-in photo of my house. Not just the house, my face. Me, taking out the trash. The camera angle matched one of Davis's upstairs windows. That was it. I called the police. They came, took a report, and said it could count as harassment. But they couldn't do much unless I caught him in the act. I asked if I could use my cameras to prove it. Of course, one officer said. As long as they're facing your property, you're in the clear. Funny how that works. So I bought 2 more cameras. One hidden in a bird feeder, the other disguised in a porch light. I made sure they had clear views of my front yard, driveway, and sidewalk. If Davis wanted to keep playing games, I was done being nice about it. The next week, I got footage of him walking past my house at 2:13 a.m. He stopped at my mailbox, looked around, and dropped something inside. I waited until morning to check it. Inside was a folded piece of paper, no envelope. It said, "Keep watching. I'm not done." No signature. Just that. I turned it into the cops. They took it seriously this time, said it could be considered a threat. But again, it wasn't enough to press charges. They offered to send a patrol by now and then, but that was it. I started documenting everything. Every weird noise at night. Every time I saw Davis standing outside staring at my house for no reason. Every piece of trash mysteriously dumped in my yard. I wrote it all down with timestamps. I even showed the police a spreadsheet. They said it was good to keep records. Then came the fire. Small, but enough to scare the hell out of me. Someone tossed a lit newspaper onto my porch at 4 a.m. Luckily, it only scorched the welcome mat before my motion sensor floodlights kicked on and the flames fizzled. But the point was clear. This wasn't just petty stuff anymore. I reviewed the footage. A shadowy figure in a hoodie sprinting away. I couldn't prove it was Davis, but I had my suspicions. I gave everything to the police. They said they'd start an official investigation. 3 days later, Davis was arrested. Not for arson yet, but because of something else. Turns out he was already being watched. Not just by me. He was under investigation for insurance fraud related to his break-in. The robbery? It was staged. Police said they found inconsistencies in his story. Items he claimed were stolen were later found inside a storage unit he rented under a different name. The robbers never existed. He faked the whole thing for a payout. That explained a lot. But what really shocked me was what came next. When the police went through his phone, they found photos. Dozens. Of me. Of my house. Of my cameras. Even screenshots of my social media. It wasn't just harassment anymore, it was obsession. They filed a restraining order on my behalf. Davis was charged with attempted insurance fraud, harassment, and stalking. But he made bail. And now he's back. He still lives across the street. The difference now is, he doesn't try to hide the way he watches me. He stands at his window, eyes locked on mine, like he's daring me to do something. And I know deep down this isn't over. Not yet. About a month after Davis got out on bail, things calmed down. Or at least they seemed to. He stopped with the flyers. No more raw meat in the trash. No midnight notes. The weird silence almost felt worse than the chaos. I figured maybe the restraining order finally worked. Maybe the charges shook him up. Maybe he realized this wasn't a game. But then I started getting mail that wasn't mine. At first, it was just junk. Catalogs addressed to Franklin Martin or Jared Ellis. I live alone, and I've never rented out rooms. I figured it was just a mix-up. Then came a credit card offer under the name Elijah W. Roberts. I don't know any Elijah W. Roberts. I called the post office. They confirmed someone had submitted a change of address form for my address, linked to 5 different names. All fake. Someone was creating identities tied to my home. The kicker? The form had been submitted online, from an IP address traced to my neighborhood. I reported it. The investigator said it looked like an attempt at synthetic identity fraud. Basically, someone was using my address to build fake identities and apply for loans, cards, maybe more. It was too much of a coincidence. So I installed even more cameras. 2 facing the mailbox, 1 hidden in a fake outdoor speaker by the fence. I also put motion sensors near the side of the house. If Davis or anyone else got near, I'd know. That's when I caught him, again. A week later, the footage showed Davis walking by at night with his dog. But the dog wasn't on a leash. It was sniffing around my lawn. Davis bent down like he was tying his shoe, then slipped something into my mailbox. This time, I got him on video. I didn't even check what he left. I just handed the SD card to the police. But when they picked him up, they discovered something else. Inside his house, they found a wall. A literal wall covered in photos, maps, post-its, and notes. A huge chunk of it was about me. Schedules. Camera placements. Notes about my habits, when I leave for work, what time I take out the trash, even where I buy groceries. They also found printouts of emails sent to local neighborhood groups under fake names. Emails that painted me as a dangerous voyeur, unstable, and likely to snap. Some of those same emails had recently been forwarded to the HOA board anonymously. He was trying to make me look like the neighborhood threat. But here's the twist. He wasn't acting alone. During the investigation, the police traced several emails to another IP, one registered to a house a few streets down. The homeowner was a woman named Renee. I barely knew her. We'd waved a few times. I had no idea she and Davis were close. Turns out, she was helping him. She believed I was the real danger. She'd bought into every lie Davis fed her. She even gave him access to her internet to cover his tracks. Together, they created multiple fake online accounts to target me. Davis was the brains, Renee was the cover. When this all came out, the neighborhood exploded. Some people apologized. Some stayed silent. Others doubled down, still convinced I must have done something to deserve it. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I lost my job. My employer received an anonymous tip accusing me of monitoring children with hidden cameras. The message included edited screenshots from my security footage, manipulated to make it look like my cameras were pointing directly at the neighborhood park across the street. My boss called me in. HR had to investigate. I was placed on leave immediately. I knew exactly who did it. And I had proof. I found the original footage. I compared timestamps. I printed the unedited frames and stacked them next to the manipulated ones. But clearing your name isn't instant. HR said they'd look into it. I'd have to wait. And all the while, Davis watched from his window. This man had tried to ruin my life. He'd filed fake claims, staged a robbery, harassed me, spread lies, dragged someone else into it, and now sabotaged my job. And still, he was free. Every day, I walked outside knowing he could be watching. Every email I got from my job made my stomach twist. Every knock at the door made me tense. But I wasn't finished. If Davis wanted war, he'd chosen the wrong person. And I had a plan. I didn't wait for HR to finish their slow-motion investigation. I knew if I didn't fight this head-on, I'd be unemployed and branded for something I didn't do. So I took a day off from sitting around in anxiety and went straight to the HOA monthly meeting. They usually held them at the community center, and it was the kind of event where half the seats stayed empty and the same people talked about hedge heights and parking too close to mailboxes. But that night, the room was packed. I wasn't surprised. The rumors about me had gotten loud. I didn't walk in quietly. I came in with a binder, printouts, screenshots, timeline spreadsheets. I had 3 copies, one for the HOA chair, one for the police rep who occasionally attended, and one for me to flip through as I spoke. I didn't ask to speak. I stood up and I spoke anyway. Some of you know me. Some of you think you do, I started. There's been a lot of talk lately. I'm here to clear it up. And to tell you who's actually behind the chaos in this neighborhood. Whispers. Some folks looked away. Others stared. But Davis was there, sitting off to the side, arms crossed, trying to smirk like this was a joke. I laid out everything. The flyers. The mailbox incident. The identity fraud. The manipulated footage. The restraining order. The police reports. Renee's involvement. The doctored emails sent to my job. Everything. Then I dropped the final piece, the real footage that disproved the park claim. I pulled out a small projector, aimed it at the wall, and played the side-by-side comparison. Silence. Those screenshots you all saw? They were fakes, I said. This is the original. This is the truth. Davis's smirk was gone. Renee stood up, her face pale. This is ridiculous. You're twisting everything. I looked right at her. You let him use your internet. You helped him build a digital smear campaign. You're not just a bystander. Someone else spoke up, Janet, the HOA treasurer. Wait, is this real? You mean the break-in was staged? I nodded. Police confirmed it. Insurance fraud. Another voice chimed in, Frank, the cop who sometimes volunteered to sit in on meetings. It's true. I can't speak on everything publicly, but what he's saying checks out. Davis finally snapped. He stood up, shouting, this is a witch hunt. He's spinning lies. I've lived here 20 years, he's been here what, 5? And suddenly he's the victim. Sit down, Janet snapped. We've heard enough. No, I said, my voice flat. Let him talk. Let's hear why he did it. The room was quiet. Davis looked around, desperate for support. None came. Then he cracked. You put cameras up like you own the block, he muttered. Always watching. Like we're in some damn prison yard. I just wanted peace. Privacy. I stared at him. So you lied, faked a robbery, stalked me, framed me for something disgusting, and that's your excuse? Because I installed legal security cameras. He didn't answer. He just looked down. His shoulders sank. Renee, still standing, blurted out, I thought you were dangerous. He showed me things. He said you were a threat to the neighborhood. I believed him. Some neighbors looked at her with disgust. A few shook their heads. I just wanted to be left alone, I said quietly. And instead, I was made into a target. Renee started to cry. She didn't leave. Davis did. He walked out fast, without a word. No one followed. The meeting ended early. Nobody talked about hedges or mailbox paint. A few people came up to apologize, some sincerely, others awkwardly. Frank offered to help push for formal charges again. Janet asked if I'd considered joining the HOA. I went home and slept deeply for the first time in months. The aftermath wasn't clean. My job took another week to finish the investigation, but in the end, they cleared me. I kept my position, but I didn't feel quite the same walking into work after that. Davis was charged again, this time with additional harassment and attempted fraud. He eventually moved. Whether he was pushed out or left by choice, I don't know. Renee disappeared from community meetings, and her house went up for sale within 3 months. The cameras stayed up. And now? Some of my neighbors have their own. We nod more. Say hello more. Funny how that works. I still catch myself glancing across the street, expecting him to be there. Watching. But the window's empty now. People can go to terrifying lengths to justify their paranoia. Or their pride. All it takes is one person to light the match, and sometimes, others will fan the flames just to feel important. I don't think I'll ever trust quite the same way again. But I've learned something solid. Paranoia is contagious. So is silence. But truth? Truth can burn through both, if you're willing to stand in the heat. And I did.